sudden surge of water triggered flash flooding in Rasuwa district of Nepal, causing extensive damage across the region. The rising waters quickly submerged areas along the river banks, with the flood carrying large amounts of debris downstream. Several trucks were caught in the flood waters and swept away along with the debris. Buildings in the affected areas also suffered heavy damage, with some structures collapsing amid the flooding. Several vehicles were also swept away by the strong current as the flood waters moved through the area. Critical infrastructure was affected as well, with a hydropower project damaged by the flooding. A bridge in the affected region also collapsed under the impact of flood waters, disrupting connectivity. The flooding has left behind widespread destruction across Rasuwa, with roads, buildings and other infrastructure damaged or swept away. The floodwaters have also moved downstream towards the Tributary River basin, with areas including Nuwakot being closely monitored. Rescue teams from the Nepal Army, Police and Armed Police Force are carrying out search and rescue operations, while authorities continue to assess the damage. The cause of the sudden surge is still being investigated, with officials examining the possibility of a glacial lake outburst flood after significant rainfall was recorded on the Tibetan site.
And taking a short break, viewers, India and China set up a military hotline on Arunachal and middle sector to set up a joint expert group to fast-track boundary issues. Stay tuned. We are live this morning.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो।
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
I wake up wearing someone else again. Don't let it slip. I'm losing grip. I don't wanna be safe anymore. Underneath there's a
Finding myself. That's my moment of Sarah.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट
अब बताओ, स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट
ايش عملتي؟ ما عملتيش شيء يا حبيبتي.
رموا 4 صواريخ، وهذا الدمار كله بسبب الصواريخ هذول.
ايش صار في النازحين والخيم؟
النازحين وممتلكات، هي ممتلكات وهانة ونازحين للاسف كلهم اتدمروا، للاسف الحين هم بلا مأوى، هم هالوقت بلا مكان يروحوا يقعدوا له. هم الحين بفكروا كيف يستقروا، كيف يروحوا لمكان آمن ثاني أو كيف يستقروا في هذا المكان. بدنا نعيش بأمان، بدنا نعيش بحياتنا، بدنا نحس. هاي بيت شايفين كيف؟ هاي هذا البيت تدمر واحنا واقفين وبنتكلم بسبب القصف اللي كان قبل شوية.
بين الطفل بتاكل يجيها طلق في ظهرها يقتلها، طلق يجيها في ظهرها يقتلها على المطرح ماتت البنت. بنت صغيرة 10 سنين عمرها، ما عملتش ولا حاجة.
Iran's economy is staring at a fresh shock. The Iranian rial has crashed to a new record low, hitting 2.02 million rial to $1 in market trading. And the timing is significant. Washington is preparing to unveil another round of sanctions, promising to tighten the economic screws on Tehran even further. Donald Trump has already declared on social media, Iran is completely collapsing. But here is the big question, is Iran really collapsing, or is Tehran using the Strait of Hormuz to run its economic weakness into global pressure point? For ordinary Iranians, the currency crash is not just number flashing on a trading screen. It is hitting the kitchen table, it is hitting savings, and it is hitting the cost of survival. Iran was already struggling with a double-digit inflation and negative economic growth before the latest phase of the conflict. But months of war, previous sanctions, and growing international isolation have pushed the pressure to another level. The numbers tell a brutal story. Since the war began, rice prices have reportedly risen by around 60%. Beef prices
Welcome back, viewers. We are live this morning, getting you some more updates coming in from across the nation. Let's get started. Kerala Police and Excise Department conduct vehicle checks across the capital and Operation Tufan and Operation Thunder to crack down on drug trafficking and illegal contraband ahead of festivities. A 21-year-old girl was allegedly stabbed to death at her residence in Tilaknagar. Police examining CCTV footage. The accused, reportedly known to be victim, is absconding. A man allegedly shot dead his two sisters and injured another man. Days before Raksha Bandhan, police say the accused suspected his sister's character and was also involved in a property dispute with them. And Rouse Avenue Court grants 3-day police custody of Lawrence Bishnoi 8, Deepak Khatri to Delhi Crime Branch in a UAPA and Arms Act case. The court cited the national security implication of the allegations. In two operations by the Food Safety and Drug Administration Department on Wednesday ahead of Raksha Bandhan, officials in Kanpur found khoya being prepared and stored in extremely unhygienic conditions at the Paris village, destroying about 200 kilograms of khoya along with 150 liters of mixed milk and They have also recovered around 500 kilograms of foul-smelling khoya packed in dirty sacks. And viewers, let's move ahead. The CIA Director John Ratcliffe has made a rare visit to Moscow, traveling to Russia for talks with Russian intelligence officials. The Kremlin has also confirmed the visit and says Ratcliffe did not meet Vladimir Putin, though the Russian president was immediately briefed on the contacts. Take a look at this report as we tell you more about this story.
CIA Director John Ratcliffe has made a rare trip to Moscow, a visit that puts the head of America's premier intelligence agency inside Russia at a time when relations between Washington and Moscow remain deeply strained. However, Moscow has provided no details on what was discussed, while Peskov makes clear that there was no meeting between Ratcliffe and Putin.
Я вам только могу сказать, что имели место контакты по линии специальных служб. Могу вам сказать, что каких-либо встреч с президентом России не было. И это все, что я вам могу сказать по этой тематике. Разумеется, президенту Путину докладывается обо всем незамедлительно.
The Kremlin's confirmation establishes the purpose of Ratcliffe's Moscow trip: direct contact with Russian intelligence services. Even without a presidential meeting, the visit puts a senior American intelligence official directly inside Moscow, opening a rare channel between Washington and the Russian security establishment.
Контакты по линии специальных служб – это позитивное явление, позитивный процесс. Эти контакты зачастую продолжаются и в самые сложные моменты двусторонних отношений. Об этом, кстати, говорил и наш президент.
The intelligence channel, according to Moscow, has remained operational even through the most difficult periods in bilateral ties. But the Kremlin is stopping short of suggesting the Ratcliffe visit marks a broader breakthrough. For now, the significance of Ratcliffe's Moscow visit remains unclear.
Но насколько это скажется в целом на процессе вывода наших двусторонних отношений из того глубочайшего кризиса, в котором они находятся, пока говорить преждевременно.
The bottom line, however, is that the CIA chief met Russian intelligence officials. Putin has been briefed, but the substance of those contacts remain undisclosed.
And taking a short break, viewers, death toll from the devastating Nepal floods has now reached over 162. Meanwhile, hundreds of people are still missing. We will be tracking this story very closely. Stay tuned.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
यानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
Electricity bill paid.
Really?
Your mobile recharge is done.
How?
Make all kinds of payments using the Bheem Payments app and get cashback of up to ₹300 every month. Use Bheem app to pay.
It's the Mahi way.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Iran's economy is staring at a fresh shock. The Iranian rial has crashed to a new record low, hitting 2.02 million rial to $1 in market trading. and the timing is significant. Washington is preparing to unveil another round of sanctions, promising to tighten the economic screws on Tehran even further. Donald Trump has already declared on social media, Iran is completely collapsing. But here is the big question, is Iran really collapsing, or is Tehran using the Strait of Hormuz to run its economic weakness into global pressure point? For ordinary Iranians, the currency crash is not just number flashing on a trading screen. It is hitting the kitchen table, it is hitting savings, and it is hitting the cost of survival. Iran was already struggling with a double-digit inflation and negative economic growth before the latest phase of the conflict. But months of war, previous sanctions, and growing international isolation have pushed the pressure to another level. The numbers tell a brutal story. Since the war began, rice prices have reportedly risen by around 60%. Beef prices are more than 150% higher. And the International Monetary Fund is forecasting that Iran's economy could shrink by more than 5%. Imagine what it means for an ordinary family. Every trip to the market costs more. Every saving loses value, and the national currency continues to slide. In Tehran, people are reportedly lining up to buy US dollars, desperately trying to protect whatever savings they have left. One 73-year-old Iranian summed up the public mood bluntly. There is no hope for a deal and a peace.
Welcome to Rise This Morning with me, Karun Seth, on Republic TV. Starting with the headlines for the day, right at your screens. Death toll from the devastating Nepal floods reaches over 160. Meanwhile, at least 265 people are still missing. India dispatches humanitarian assistance and essential medicines to support Nepal. External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar says more assistance is being mobilized to support relief efforts. Bihar and Uttar Pradesh remain on high alert after deadly flash floods in Nepal. Water level swells in Bagaha Gandak River. India and China to set up military hotline on Arunachal and middle sector to set up joint expert group to fast-track boundary issue. Meta reaches $16 billion settlement over allegations that its social media platforms harm children. Viewers, now Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan remains at the center of a legal battle over his medical treatment. Now, the Supreme Court had ordered his transfer to Shifa International Hospital from Adiala jail, but Khan was instead medically examined and sent back to prison. Now, Khan's close aide and PTI chairman Barrister Gohar Ali Khan says PTI has approached the Supreme Court again, seeking implementation of that order. Here's more on the story for you from Imran Khan.
Imran Khan's medical battle has now turned into a fresh confrontation between the PTI and Pakistan's government. PTI says the Supreme Court's August 18 order directing Khan's transfer to Shifa International Hospital was not implemented. Imran's closest aide, Gohar Khan, says the petition has now been numbered and the party is seeking an urgent hearing, citing Khan's health as an emergency.
हमने एक पिटीशन फाइल कर दी थी सैटरडे वाले दिन और हम अदालत से यही दरख्वास्त कर रहे हैं कि 18 तारीख को जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर किया था और इसमें खान साहब को शिफा इंटरनेशनल हॉस्पिटल शिफ्ट होना था, उसमें एक बोर्ड बनना था मेडिकल जिसमें खान साहब की बहन और खान साहब के ज़ाती मुआलिज शामिल होना था। वो चूँकि लेटर एंड स्पिरिट में इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हुआ, उस हॉस्पिटल में नहीं ले जाया गया और वो टेस्ट नहीं हुए जिसका सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर किया, लिहाजा हमने सुप्रीम कोर्ट से इस्तदा की है कि इस आर्डर को इम्प्लीमेंट करो। उस आर्डर की इम्प्लीमेंटेशन अभी बाकी है, लेकिन जो एप्लीकेशन हमने फ़ाइल की है उसमें पहले ऑब्जेक्शन लगा हुआ था, ऑब्जेक्शन के बाद हमने उसको रीफाइल कर दिया और अब उसको नंबर अलाट हुआ है। हमें उम्मीद है इंशाअल्लाह ताला कि जुमेरात को या जितनी भी जल्द हो सके सुप्रीम कोर्ट इंशाअल्लाह उसकी समाअत करे।
The refilling comes after objections were raised against PTI's original petition, while also expressing optimism that the case will be heard very soon.
हमने सुप्रीम कोर्ट से रिक्वेस्ट की है, उस पर एक नोट ज़रूर पुटअप हुआ होगा और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये कहा है कि जितनी जल्द समाअत हो सकती हो हम करेंगे और बेंच की अवेलेबिलिटी भी देखेंगे और बेंच की अवेलेबिलिटी को देख करके इंशाल्लाह वो जल्द फैसला करेंगे।
While there was initially reports of a protest planned outside Pakistan's Supreme Court, PTI has now denied it, rather saying that the party is following the judicial process and wants the court to intervene.
नहीं, देखो धरना भी नहीं, अलामती प्रोटेस्ट भी नहीं। हमने ये कहा था कि इसको नंबर अलाट करके इस पे नोट पुटअप कर दिए, नंबर अलाट हो गया, नोट पुटअप हुआ होगा। अभी चीफ जस्टिस साहब को रूटीन में यही होता है कि दफ्तर नंबर अलाट करता है, रजिस्ट्रार साहब एक नोट पुट करता है, चीफ जस्टिस को बताता है कि इसमें अर्जेंसी क्या है। हमने कहा है कि ये हेल्थ रिलेटेड मैटर है और इसके हेल्थ को शदीद ख़तरात लाहिक है और डॉक्टर का होना, डॉक्टर का टेस्ट इंटरव्यू वगैरह होना बड़ा ज़रूरी है। लिहाजा सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि हम उसकी हेयरिंग करेंगे। अगर थर्सडे को बेंच अवेलेबल हुआ, जो हमने रिक्वेस्ट की है, क्योंकि जज साहिबान पाकिस्तान में मौजूद है और अगर वो पाकिस्तान में है तो जूम से भी हेयरिंग हो सकती है, एक मीटिंग कॉल की जा सकती है। लिहाजा थर्सडे को मीटिंग हो जाएगी, नहीं है तो शायद जुमे को होगा।
Khan's legal team is challenging what happened after the Supreme Court's August 18 directive, while Gohar says the government did not provide PTI with a reason for not carrying out the order as directed.
हमें तो कुछ नहीं बताया गया कि क्या वजूहात है, लेकिन सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आर्डर पे मन ऑन लेटर इन स्पिरिट अमल होना चाहिए था, हॉस्पिटल में शिफ्ट होना चाहिए था। वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर में कोई अभाम नहीं था। अगर अभाम होता तो रिव्यू फाइल की जा सकती थी, उसमें कोई अभाम नहीं था। मैटर बड़ा सिंपल था, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने लिखा था, हुकूमत ने रिव्यू फाइल भी किया, फिर वापस ले लिया, फिर उसको ऑर्डर इम्प्लीमेंट करने की तरफ बढ़े भी, लेकिन ऑल ऑफ अ सडन मिडवे जो है वो इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हो सका, जो बड़ा अनफॉर्चुनेट।
For PTI, this is now about more than Imran Khan hospital transfer. The party is making the implementation of the Supreme Court's order a test of judicial authority, while insisting that it will continue to pursue the matter through constitutional channels.
देखिए, हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कानून के मुताबिक, इनके मुताबिक हम जा रहे हैं, हर फोरम में गए हैं। हम 25 मरतबा सुप्रीम हाई कोर्ट चले गए और अभी आज के जिस वक्त मैं गया मैंने बोला भी है तो 19 मरतबा हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट गए और एवरी टाइम जब हम जाते हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट को तो हम उनको ये कह रहे हैं कि आइन कानून के मुताबिक ये हमारा राइट है, SOP के मुताबिक हमारा राइट है। हम कोई गुरेला फोर्स तो नहीं है कि बाहर निकल के आए, आओ जी खान साहब कोर्ट आएँ और हॉस्पिटल चले जाएँ, बल्कि हम कहते हैं नहीं, अदालत ऑर्डर करे और अदालत का जो प्रोसीजर है वो ड्यू प्रोसेस ऑफ लॉ फॉलो हो और इस तरीके से हम आगे बढ़े। तो वकला से जो लोगों की तवक्कुआत है बजा है और वकला अपना काम कर रहे हैं, एप्लीकेशन फाइल कर की हुई हैं। अब ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे मुनसर है और मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट से इस्तदा करूँगा कि ये आपकी ऑर्डर की इम्प्लीमेंटेशन बड़ा ज़रूरी है। आज़ाद अदलिया का होना बड़ा ज़रूरी है, लेकिन जो भी अदलिया इस वक्त मौजूद है अपना ऑर्डर इम्प्लीमेंट करना सुप्रीम कोर्ट की आईनी जिम्मेदारी है। मुझे उम्मीद है सुप्रीम कोर्ट इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करवाएगी इंशाल्लाह।
And the message from the PTI to Pakistan's top court is direct.
ये कहते हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जो आपने ऑर्डर किया उस ऑर्डर के इम्प्लीमेंट करो। ऑर्डर सिंपल है, खान साहब को हॉस्पिटल ले जाए, उसके टेस्ट और इलाज के लिए फलाना हॉस्पिटल ले जाए, एक बोर्ड बने, उसमें डॉक्टर हो, डॉक्टर तजवीज़ करे इलाज और डॉक्टरों के मुताबिक आगे बढ़े।
Imran Khan has been behind bars since August 2023. He was initially held at Attock jail before being shifted to Adyala jail in Rawalpindi in September that year. Since then, the multiple convictions and pending cases have kept him imprisoned, even after some earlier convictions were suspended or overturned. His health has become a major flashpoint, particularly concerns surrounding his right eye condition. The latest episode began with the Supreme Court's August 18 order for his transfer to Shifa, followed by his removal from Adyala, medical examination and return to jail. Now PTI wants the Supreme Court to decide whether its August 18 directive was properly implemented and whether Khan should ultimately be transferred to Shifa.
All right, viewers, turning now to global developments. Here are your top headlines from around the world. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has vowed to fight US President Donald Trump's 50% tariffs to the end, warning that all options remain on the table if the trade war escalates. Ford said Canada could consider restricting electricity and critical mineral supplies to the US, but stressed that all provinces would need to act together. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the Alexandrivka front with Ukraine's military chief and thanked troops for what he called a successful counter-offensive. Zelensky described the operation as historic and said Kyiv remains in close contact with the United States as it seeks to move closer to peace. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met Mexican Foreign Secretary Roberto Velasco in Washington as the two countries work to strengthen bilateral cooperation. The talks focused on key issues including border security, migration, drug trafficking, trade, and broader economic ties. Typhoon Nara has triggered severe flooding across southern China's Guangxi region, with rivers rising well above warning levels. In Chuangzhou, water levels reached their highest point since 1955, while thousands were evacuated after torrential rain caused floods, landslides, and communication disruptions. Rescue operations are continuing after massive flash floods and landslides struck areas across the Nepal-China border, killing at least 98 people and leaving hundreds missing. Nepal has reported at least 95 deaths, while China's Tibet region recorded 3 deaths and 265 missing. More than 400 people, including hundreds of foreign nationals, have been reported missing in Nepal. Now, viewers, Typhoon Nara has triggered severe flooding across southern China's Guangxi region, with torrential rains pushing rivers above warning levels and overrun homes, roads, and villages. More than 22,000 stranded people have been evacuated, while landslides and communication outages have cut off several communities. Typhoon Nara marks China's most severe flooding recorded in decades.
Typhoon Nara has triggered widespread flooding and disruptions across southern China. Heavy rains swelled rivers, sending water levels surging above warning marks across several parts of Guangxi province. In Zhongshu, floodwaters spilled into rural and urban areas, submerging roads and homes. Villages were cut off, roads were blocked by landslides as rescue teams used boats to reach stranded residents. As of August 25, more than 22,000 stranded people had been evacuated. According to the Zhongshu Hydrology Center, water levels at one hydrological station rose to almost 8 meters above the warning levels. Since August 22, Typhoon Nara has brought heavy torrential rains across parts of Guangxi province. Communication outages also left several communities cut off from the outside world. Typhoon Nara marks the region's most severe flooding recorded in China since 1955.
Now, New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who rose to power flaunting his Indian roots through Bollywood songs and iconic movie dialogues, has now turned against the RSS. He is opposing the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's address at Madison Square Garden this Saturday. Bhagwat is scheduled to participate in the Universal Oneness program and speak to about 5,000 people as part of the organization's centenary outreach. Mamdani said he does not support the event, calling the RSS vision exclusionary, leading to a major controversy. Take a look.
पर आपको एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूं। तुमने कभी किसी को वोट किया? कभी किसी को रैंक किया?
From Bollywood songs to dialogues from popular Indian movies, flaunting his Indian roots throughout his mayoral campaign.
Thank you to my family from Kampala to Delhi. And thank you to my wife Rama.
Zohran Mamdani built his election campaign on India Connect and became the first Indian-American mayor of New York. But he has been singing the anti-India tune all along. Now he opposes the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh Chiefs event at the Madison Square.
Not only as an Indian American, but also as the mayor of a city that believes deeply in the belonging of each and every person, no matter their color, their creed, their religion, their faith, wherever they're from.
Should the rally be canceled, though, at MSG this weekend?
I don't support the rally, but I don't know if the city has any jurisdiction on canceling a private event.
During his stay in New York, RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat is expected to take part in Universal Oneness program, address a gathering of around 5,000 people at the iconic venue this Saturday. Looking at Mamdani's leanings, one would not be surprised at his stand. Of course, cancelling the event is out of his jurisdiction. His support for anti-India elements and Pakistan slices through his hypocrisy on what he calls vision of India. It's the same Mamdani who wrote a letter for Tukre Tukre gang's Umar Khalid, questioning his incarceration. He even called Indian Prime Minister a war criminal. His idea of diversity and inclusivity is exposed when he backed anti-Semitic movement. He backed the movement that called for the boycott of Israelis. He hosted Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil at his official residence, who celebrates the Hamas ideology.
Perhaps even the duplicity as is coming across from Mr. Mamdani's statements in the media. He invokes pluralism and then he steps out to say, I'd like to see something stop. Now, I don't understand what kind of pluralistic mindset is this. And he seems to be no stranger to controversy. If one recalls correctly, his father seems to have written fairly controversial things about jihadis or terrorists being seen in the nature of army soldiers.
जोरान ममदानी जो ये चलाते हैं स्टॉप हिंदू हेट, स्टार्ट हिंदू हेट, ये कैंपेन क्यों तुष्टिकरण के कर रहे हैं जब उन्हीं के अमेरिका में खालिस्तानी रैली अलाउड है, हमास को वो सपोर्ट करते हैं, वहाँ मोहन जी भागवत का रीच आउट जो है 2 लाख हिंदू अमेरिकन्स को जो डॉक्टर्स हैं, इंजीनियर्स हैं, टैक्सी ड्राइवर्स हैं, राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ की दृष्टि से वो बोलते हैं कि हिंदू राष्ट्र का मतलब है वसुदेव कुटुंबकम, मीन्स दैट द वर्ल्ड इज योर फैमिली.
There is deep anger among the Indian American community living in New York and surrounding states. It's time that the nationalists call out the duplicity of the New York Mayor Mamdani.
Now, viewers, India and China have agreed to advance talks on an early and substantial harvest of boundary delimitation. This is part of an 8-point consensus arrived at during the 25th round of special representatives talks in Beijing. More on this in-depth report. Listen in.
A day after boundary talks concluded between India and China under the special representatives mechanism, with India represented by NSA Ajit Doval and China represented by their foreign minister and Politburo member Wang Yi. A joint statement with 8 points has been released, endorsed by both the sides. Now it's significant, dated 26th of August, that's yesterday, and it says that on 25th of August 2026, the 25th round of talks between special representatives had taken place, and candid and in-depth exchange of views, India-China boundary question, and they reached 8 points of outcomes and consensus, which are as follows. Point number 1, the two sides reaffirmed their commitment to uphold the guidance received from the leaders of the two countries. This refers to the understanding and instructions that were given by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping after they met in Kazan of Russia on the sidelines of the SCO summit, and that was their first meeting after the Galwan standoff. And then, of course, those understandings were sort of taken to the next level and amplified or strengthened in the SCO summit in Tianjin last year when the two leaders met again. And this refers to that guidance from the two leaders to the respective bureaucracies. Point number 2, the two sides underline their commitment to advancing negotiations on a framework for the settlement of the boundary question as per the agreement on political parameters and guiding principles for settlement on the India-China boundary question. The agreement signed in 2005 and of course the recent understandings as per the SR talks. Now that's also should be seen as only a reiteration of existing agreements and mechanisms. Point number 3 is something which is a step forward and marks an important move ahead in terms of resolving the India-China boundary question whenever it gets resolved. This talks of setting up an expert group on boundary delimitation and working group on border management under the WMCC mechanism, and this would advance discussions on an early and substantial harvest of boundary delimitation and border management. And as first task, this expert group would mutually agree on its terms of reference. Now, this seems like a move forward in terms of negotiations between India and China on sorting out the LAC, and that takes us to the next point, the point number 4. It specifically talks about managing the LAC in a manner, or the line of actual control in a manner, so that it avoids misunderstandings and miscalculations, and that commander level meetings and the WMCC mechanism should be used properly for better border management. And this takes us to the most important point perhaps in this entire communique, which is point number 5, which effectively sets up a hotline for Arunachal Pradesh, by the way. But the point says, with the objective to improve the border management measures, an additional 2 meeting points were agreed for holding the military commanders meetings. Now, typically, as of now, India and China have one meeting point, or one place where they have 2 meeting points, one on the Chinese side, which is the Moldo side, and one on the Indian side, which is the Chushul point. So Chushul point on the Indian side and Moldo on the Chinese side, where the military commanders of 2 sides meet off and on. Alternately, with the diplomats meeting in New Delhi and China as per the WMCC mechanism. But now this sets up additional border points where military commanders come and talk, and that happens in the eastern sector and the middle sector. Also, 2 additional channels of border military hotline in the eastern and middle sectors, which means apart from getting military talking points, places where the military commanders of 2 sides can come and talk, it is also setting up a hotline for the eastern sector, which means Arunachal sector. Now, that's a significant development, one would say. Then it says, point number 6, both sides note the progress made and the general bonhomie over the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, etc., etc. And point number 7 is also very significant, that comes out of the meeting that took place between NSA Doval and Wang Yi, the foreign minister of China, which is that China would resume sharing of hydrological data, which was sort of stopped or stonewalled since Galwan, and India had been requesting. Now that resumes, and in fact in September, which is next month, the 2 sides have agreed to hold the meeting of the India-China expert level mechanism on trans-border rivers. Now, these 2 important aspects come out with a lot of clarity on this, on India-China boundary, which is that they have set up an expert group, 3 points actually. They have set up an expert group which would set up terms of reference and take the talks forward and provide solutions and advanced discussions for an early substantial harvest, which means this has moved beyond just discussions and talks and discussions and talks, some actionable decision being taken. And then, of course, the hotline specifically on the eastern sector, which is Arunachal, and important takeaway in terms of trans-border rivers, hydrological data sharing. So I think NSA Doval's visit to Beijing has brought out some fruits, diplomatic fruits for India and China. This seems like building momentum to 2 meetings that the 2 leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping, are going to have within a span of a fortnight. One, they are meeting in Bishkek on the sidelines of the SCO summit or in the SCO summit. And then, of course, BRICS summit in New Delhi, which is slated for 11th to 13th of September next month. And that's going to be a big diplomatic powwow everyone would be looking forward to. But India and China essentially building up to those 2 meetings between the 2 leaders, with NSA Doval and Foreign Minister Wang Yi delivering on some substantial movement forward when it comes to the border or boundary question between India and China.
Viewers, you're watching live this morning with me, Karun, on Republic. Time to pause for a very short break, but don't go anywhere. Much more coming up on the other side. Meta reaches $16 billion settlement over allegations that its social media platforms harm children. Stay tuned.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
I wake up wearing someone else again. Don't let it slip. I'm losing. I don't wanna be safe anymore.
Finding myself. That's my moment of Sarah.
कुछ तो सस्ता लो।
सब बढ़िया लो।
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
ايش عملتي يا حبيبتي؟ ما عملتيش شيء يا حبيبتي.
Welspun Corporation's promoter group has offloaded shares worth around 1,365 crore through block deals. Capital Group picked up a 1.81% stake worth about 1,088 crore, while Aberdeen Group acquired a 0.25% stake for about 150 crore. NRI deposits declined 23.2% to $2.77 billion in the first quarter of financial year 27, even as inflows into the FCNR deposits rose sharply. The decline comes amid changing deposit preferences and movements in foreign currency savings. The US Federal Aviation Administration has ordered inspections of Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft after a Boeing investigation found manufacturing discrepancies involving shim gaps that may exceed engineering limits. The issue could potentially lead to fatigue cracks in critical wing structures. The US FDA has approved Rasonk, developed by Revolution Medicines, for advanced pancreatic cancer. The targeted therapy, also known as daraxonrasib, was shown in trials to significantly extend survival compared with standard chemotherapy, offering a new treatment option for patients with previously treated metastatic disease.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला डिलीशियस हेल्दी एवरीडे
Electricity bill paid.
Really?
Your mobile recharge is done.
How?
Make all kinds of payments using the Bheem Payments app and get cashback of up to rupees 300 every month. Use Bheem app to pay.
It's the Mahi way.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Iran's economy is staring at a fresh shock. The Iranian rial has crashed to a new record low, hitting 2.02 million rial to $1 in market trading. And the timing is significant. Washington is preparing to unveil another round of sanctions, promising to tighten the economic screws on Tehran even further. Donald Trump has already declared on social media, Iran is completely collapsing. But here is the big question, is Iran really collapsing, or is Tehran using the Strait of Hormuz to run its economic weakness into global pressure point? For ordinary Iranians, the currency crash is not just number flashing on a trading screen. It is hitting the kitchen table, it is hitting savings, and it is hitting the cost of survival. Iran was already struggling with a double-digit inflation and negative economic growth before the latest phase of the conflict. But months of war, previous sanctions, and growing international isolation have pushed the pressure to another level. The numbers tell a brutal story. Since the war began, rice prices have reportedly risen by around 60%. Beef prices are more than 150% higher. And the International Monetary Fund is forecasting that Iran's economy could shrink by more than 5%. Imagine what means for an ordinary family. Every trip to
from Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Very good morning, viewers. We are live and breaking. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you the latest. It's a horrific flash flood which has struck on the Nepal-Tibet border. The death toll has gone up to 162. Hundreds and hundreds of people, including tourists and Indians, are missing. We'll get our viewers all the updates. We have a ground reportage. We will get reporters live from Nepal to help us understand what is the situation and how this tragedy has struck and affected many, many people. But the headlines first. Let's get started. Top headlines we're tracking right now. More than 162 people have lost their lives. Hundreds of tourists missing after deadly floods hit Nepal. India steps up relief measures as the flood has ravaged Nepal. 10-ton humanitarian assistance has reached Nepal. The US Geological Survey clarifies glacier collapse caused Nepal flash floods, north earthquake. Bihar and UP remain on high alert after deadly flash floods in Nepal. Water level swells on the Bagaha Gandak River. India and China to set up a military hotline on the Arunachal and middle sector to set up a joint expert group to fast-track the boundary issue. Viewers, a top story comes from Nepal. Massive flash floods in a border area of Nepal and China have killed 162 people and left hundreds of tourists, walkers and others missing after sweeping through communities and bringing areas to a halt. We have put out those pictures on your screen, and we've also put the latest numbers when it comes to the death toll. 162 people have lost their life. Hundreds of tourists are missing after the deadly floods. Experts said the avalanche from a glacier was a likely cause. MEA spokesperson Randeep Jaiswal has posted saying that India is standing by Nepal always. India has sent humanitarian aid and assistance that's been handed over by the ambassador there to the Minister of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation in Nepal. The assistance would support relief efforts in the wake of the devastating floods. India is standing firmly with Nepal and remains committed to extend all possible support. And this is a big update coming in, viewers. Let's tell you what we know so far. We'll try to go across to a reporter in Nepal as well to help us understand what is happening. It's been 24 hours since those deadly and floods have struck Nepal. Hundreds of tourists are missing. That area is very famous because a lot of pilgrims and trekkers go to that area. So hundreds and hundreds of tourists are missing. At least 100 from India are missing, 54 from US, 34 from Australia, and 33 from UK. And more than 100 are missing from Nepal itself. This area is popular because of pilgrims and trekkers. The US, China, the EU, and India are among the countries that have pledged assistance and dispatched relief supplies. On your screen is the aftermath of the deadly flash floods. And we're getting some more updates coming in because the pictures are showing the extent of the damage, scale of destruction very visible. And these are disturbing visuals, viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Since this is a tragedy which has struck that area, those visuals are disturbing because of the extent of damage very clearly being seen there on our screen. We have seen how mud is covering properties following the flash flood in Trishuli. So after the flash floods, we can see that mud is covering a lot of the areas which have been struck by these floods. Aerial views show buildings in Trishuli partially submerged by mud. The Nepal Army officers are rescuing flood survivors, and there's an all-out rescue and relief effort which is happening as we speak. I want to go straight across to Surendra Fayal, reporter live coming in from Nepal, from Kathmandu. Surendra, this is very, very unfortunate. Now, it's been 24 hours already, and we understand that the situation is that 162 people are dead. Hundreds and hundreds of people are missing, including Nepalese and including tourists as well. What is the situation right now after 24 hours, Surendra?
Search, rescue and relief operations are underway. They're very much in progress. They're recovering bodies of dead people along the banks of the river, all the way from Rasuwa to Chitwan, which is about 50, 60 kilometers from India, which is low-lying region. So bodies are floating and they are just picking up. And meanwhile, Nepali Army is coordinating, leading relief, rescue and search operation. They have mobilized helicopters carrying relief and rescue materials to Rasuwa district, affected areas, and also some injured people are being airlifted to Kathmandu for medical treatment. The search whereabouts of the pilgrims, tourists stranded near China border are unknown, and people are trying to find them out where they are, because around 400 tourists, including some from Nepal, more than 100 from India, are missing. They were bound for Kailas, the Mansarovar pilgrimage. So the situation continues to remain dire after this catastrophic flood.
Surendra, the entire nation is shocked and deeply distressed, and the Prime Minister there, Balendra Shah, the Nepalese Prime Minister, said that some survivors have recalled seeing their own family members being swept away. So this is extremely disturbing. The visuals on a screen are very disturbing as well. Our viewers are watching right now. And India standing firmly with Nepal. India, EU, US, Australia are sending aid and help from across the border. Surendra.
Yes, not just the neighboring countries and friendly countries, including China. You know, the Chinese side is also affected. The border port of Jirong is badly affected. You know, that's where the pilgrims are. And yesterday, Chinese President Xi Jinping issued an alert, instructed authorities to carry out all-out rescue and relief operation in the area. So there is help coming in from all sides, all quarters, but still it will take some time. Meanwhile, weather forecast is that there is no more danger of another, heavy flood like yesterday, which occurred as a result of glacial flooding, glacial collapse in the Langtang region of Nepal, which which surged into Tibetan region and then flowed downstream into Nepal, unleashing havoc.
Surendra, I wanted to hold on for a second. We're getting some more breaking news coming in. We told our viewers that at least 133 Indians are still missing. So we have the numbers. 37 tourists are from Tamil Nadu. 32 are from West Bengal. Among those missing, over 130 Indians in total as per Nepal officials. Flash floods swept through central Nepal, cutting off affected areas and stranding many. Now the trigger was a glacial collapse near the Nepal-China border. A devastation in the Rasuwa area along the Bhote Koshi corridor, a key route for the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. Rescue operations are on. 157 bodies have been recovered so far. So the numbers are on your screen when we talk about how many Indians are still missing. Over 130 Indians are missing in Nepal floods. And we have the numbers which are looking extremely disturbing. 37 from Tamil Nadu, 32 from West Bengal are among the missing. Over 130 Indians are missing in the Nepal floods. India has gone ahead and given assistance to Nepal at these tough times because a neighbor is facing very tough times, and India giving all the assistance that it can to help. Surendra, coming back to you, we have some numbers on a screen. We know so far at least 130 plus Indians are still missing. They are unaccounted for. If you could just help our viewers understand, because 130 plus Indians are missing, so are nationals from other nations. A search is on to find them.
Yes, more than 60 Nepalese are also missing. Their whereabouts are not known. They're out of contact. Hopefully, some of them would be found because the communications networks in China, in Tibet, has collapsed. So as has the electricity power supply situation. So that's why we can only hope that they will be found alive and rescued alive. Isha Foundation from India, I was reading a piece of news earlier in the morning, said that several of their pilgrims are also unaccounted for. The famous Indian guru, Sadhguru, left Nepal recently for Mansarovar. We hope he and others are safe high up in Tibet. But those that were at the border where the flood hit remain unaccounted for, and concerns are growing, yes.
Right. Surendra, hold on for a second there. We're getting some breaking news coming in. It's a major breaking. More than 300 foreign nationals are missing in the catastrophic flash flood that hit Nepal on Wednesday, including 47 Americans, 33 from UK, about 34 Australians. This has prompted international assistance like Surendra is talking about. It's been 24 hours since the massive flash floods and landslides wiped away entire villages in Nepal with its border near Tibet. At least 160 plus people have been killed. Hundreds more are missing as we speak. Heavy casualties are feared. That means that the death toll could be going up further. I just want to go across to my colleague Surendra, who is joining us. Now, we know that there would be heavy casualties. In fact, the numbers could be going higher. That is one fear that the Nepalese authorities have. At the same time, we also know that the Nepalese security personnel, the army, police, and others, some of them are missing themselves, Surendra.
Yes, 85 security personnel, including Nepal Police, Armed Police Force, EPF, and Nepali Army personnel, 85 of them have gone missing. The flood was so catastrophic and so sudden that there were vehicles, containers flying along the highway that runs parallel to the river. 1,300 vehicles have also been swept away, at least 10 bridges, nearly 10 hydroelectric plants, all destroyed. So it is quite unthinkable, quite unimaginable for many Nepalese who have never ever seen such a huge flood in their life. It is like never seen before kind of flood. And as far as Tibet is concerned, Tibetan side in China, among the foreigners from Europe and Australia and America and Canada, many are said to be non-resident Indians, NRIs, who were also going to Kailash pilgrimage. And we can only hope that they will be found. They will come in contact with authorities as soon as the situation improves in Tibet, where authorities are said to be working hard around the clock to restore telecommunication, mobile networks, and power supply and transportation.
All right, Surendra joining us live from Kathmandu, Nepal. Surendra, thank you for getting us those updates. We're coming back to you. And India continues to stand firmly with Nepal at their hour of need. We're getting more updates coming in, viewers. Nepal is battling a devastating flood crisis with massive flooding leaving behind a trail of unprecedented destruction across the country. Powerful visuals capture the scale of the devastation as rescue and relief operations continue in several affected areas. As Nepal faces this massive crisis, India stands firmly with its neighbor extending support and assistance for relief effort. Republic's Editor-in-Chief Arnab Goswami brings you the latest on the Nepal floods with ground visuals capturing the scale of destruction and the ongoing rescue and relief operations. Listen in.
Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a terrible, terrible flash flood in Nepal. And right on top, on behalf of everyone here at the Republic Media Network, we want to say to the people of Nepal, the brave people of Nepal, that India is with Nepal, Bharat is with Nepal. What has happened is extraordinarily tragic. When a sudden surge of river from the Tibetan side, the Chinese side, triggers a flash flood that affects one whole district and all the downstream areas along the Trishuli River in Nepal. Some of the visuals of what has happened are truly heart-rending and extremely worrying. The first visual I'll show you, you can see the sheer power of this flash flood, because in a blink of an eye, a massive wall of water surges through the valley, demolishing buildings. Then in visual 2, you will see how there is this terrifying moment when people are just going about their daily routine, suddenly overrun and completely overwhelmed by the flood. This picture has gone viral. It's just so scary because the waves are many, many stories high. In the third visual, you will see how people are running across the roads and the bridge trying to save their lives, but the water from the flood completely overwhelms the area and it sweeps everything away, completely submerging this whole area. Look at the force of the water as it enters that area. Ladies and gentlemen, the extent of the devastation and destruction is so extreme. The sheer overwhelming force of the volume of water in visual 4, which is causing the devastation. Cars are getting rocked, completely taken away, house broken, taken away too. And in visual 5, the water's volume and force and the speed with which it is devastating everything in its path is clearly visible. You will see the kind of embankments, like dam-like structures which are washed away. I have personally never seen this force of a flood happening. They say it's a combination of events, but there are certain concerns about what has happened from the Chinese side. We'll talk about that later today on the program. Viewers, there is a 10-second visual which shows the exact magnitude of this flood. You must see this because this is from a top angle. Just look at the sheer strength as it takes the house away and then submerges the whole area. And in the last visual, you will see a bridge which is swept away. This is unprecedented destruction and devastation in Nepal.
And taking a short break, viewers, India steps up its relief measures as flood ravages Nepal. 10-ton humanitarian assistance has reached Nepal. India stands with Nepal.
रंग 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 रंगीन रे देखो कैसे भी हो दिन रंग बना रहे बोझ पेंट्स रंग बना रहे रंग 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 रंगीन रे देखो कैसे भी हो दिन रंग 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 बना रहे रंग 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 रंगीन रे देखो कैसे भी हो दिन रंग 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 बना रहे रंग 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 रंगीन रे रंग 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 बना रहे बोझ पेंट्स रंग बना रहे
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
कुछ तो सस्ता लो सब बढ़िया लो
इसमें क्या खास बात है
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात
बेस्ट हरा बोर्ड दिखाना
सबसे डिपेंडेबल सेंचुरी HDF प्रीमियम प्लस
ट्रायल लूंगा
श्योर
वाटर रेजिस्टेंट
है स्ट्रॉन्ग है हाई डेंसिटी वुड फाइबर स्ट्रक्चर एडवांस जर्मन एडहेसिव बॉन्डिंग सॉलिड डिफेंस
ट्रायल में पास
सेंचुरी के 40 सालों का भरोसा हरे बोर्ड का असली बॉस सेंचुरी HDF प्रीमियम प्लस
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट
ايش عملتي؟ ما عملتيش شيء يا حبيبتي.
Getting some breaking news coming in. YouTuber and Haranavi singer Ankit Balnia has been shot dead in UP's Shamli. This is a breaking news development that we're learning of. This happened outside a gym. This happened around 7 p.m. on Wednesday when Balia was stepping out. Police say 3 to 4 assailants opened fire, around 20 rounds, killing him on the spot. Balia had suffered multiple bullet injuries, including a gunshot wound to the head. Attackers fled after the shooting, and the identities are being verified of the attackers. The motive is yet to be ascertained. Tension prevails in the area. Investigation is underway as we speak, viewers. We'll get our viewers all these updates coming in. This singer was shot 20 times outside a gym, and we are getting these updates coming in as the police say the assailants' identities is being verified. For more, I want to go straight across to my colleague, Saurabh, who's joining us. Saurabh, the investigation is underway. What do we know?
Yeah, Shivangi, the investigation in this YouTuber and Haryanvi famous singer Ankit Balyan's murder is currently underway by the police officials. However, there is a post surfaced on social media, Facebook, that Gogi gang has taken the full responsibility of this murder of Ankit Balyan. They have also said that he has made a video song on the murder of their gang leader Jitendra Gogoi, in that incident he got killed inside the court in 2021, and he made a video on this, and that is why, to teach him a lesson and the other people who are against the Gogi gang, they have conducted this heinous crime in Shamli district. However, Ankit Balyan, when he was stepping out of the gym on Wednesday at nearly 7 p.m. in the evening, he was shot by 4 miscreants, and multiple shots were fired. A total of 20 shots were fired at him, and he sustained several bullet injuries, and including one injury to his head, and that is why he collapsed at the spot. However, the people present at the spot immediately informed the police. Then the police officials reached the spot and rushed the Ankit Balyan to the nearby hospital. However, while on his way to hospital, he lost his life, and the doctors declared him broad dead. And now the police is verifying the social media post posted by the Gogi gang members, and they are also ascertaining the motive of the murder. However, manhunt is also on to nab all the accused in this case, Shivangi.
All right, thank you, sir, for getting us all those details. The police continues its investigation. Getting some more breaking news coming in, viewers. Big crackdown by the food regulator. FSSAI has issued notices to 2 5-star hotels in Delhi's Aero City, viewers. So back-to-back updates coming in on Republic TV. JW Marriott and Andaz over serious hygiene violations. During inspection, officials have found cockroaches near freezers and expired products, including 87 kilograms of sweets, cake base and bread packets. At Andaz, run by Juniper Hotels, inspectors flagged improper division of veg and non-veg food, pest activity, poor sanitation, improper storage practices. Similar violations were reported at JW Marriott. With non-compliance of FSSAI norms, samples have been collected. Further action will be taken once lab reports are in. So getting you these back-to-back updates coming in on Republic TV. Not just all. We're getting some more breaking news coming in. A cockroach has been found inside a chiller at Big Chill Cafe in Delhi's popular Khan Market. A video is circulating, which you will see soon. And this video raises fresh questions and concerns over hygiene at one of Delhi's most popular cafes. No official response yet from the outlet. A cockroach found inside a chiller at Big Chill Cafe in Delhi's very famous Khan Market. A video now circulating, raising fresh questions over hygiene at one of Delhi's most popular cafes. No official response yet from the outlet. So now we are getting these updates coming in. Remember that after the big crackdown by the FDA in Maharashtra on outlets who are not following SOPs to maintain hygienic food, we are seeing that these incidents are coming to light. Taking a short break, viewers, do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Bihar and UP remain on high alert after deadly flash floods in Nepal. Water level swells in the Bagaha Gandak River. Stay tuned.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
Electricity bill paid.
Really?
Your mobile recharge is done.
How?
Make all kinds of payments using the Bheem Payments app and get cashback of up to ₹300 every month. Use Bheem app to pay.
It's the Mahi way.
our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
Iran's economy is staring at a fresh shock. The Iranian rial has crashed to a new record low, hitting 2.02 million rial to $1 in market trading. And the timing is significant. Washington is preparing to unveil another round of sanctions, promising to tighten the economic screws on Tehran even further. Donald Trump has already declared on social media, Iran is completely collapsing. But here is the big question, is Iran really collapsing, or is Tehran using the Strait of Hormuz to run its economic weakness into global pressure point? For ordinary Iranians, the currency crash is not just number flashing on a trading screen. It is hitting the kitchen table, it is hitting savings, and it is hitting the cost of survival. Iran was already struggling with a double-digit inflation and negative economic growth before the latest phase of the conflict. But months of war, previous sanctions, and growing international isolation have pushed the pressure to another level. The numbers tell a brutal story. Since the war began, rice prices have reportedly risen by around 60%. Beef prices are more than 150% higher. And the International Monetary Fund is forecasting that Iran's economy could shrink by more than 5%. Imagine what it means for an ordinary family. Every trip to the market costs more. Every saving loses value, and the national currency continues to slide. In Tehran, people are reportedly lining up to buy US dollars, desperately trying to protect whatever savings they have left. One 73-year-old Iranian summed up the public mood bluntly. There is no hope for a deal and a peace. And now comes the next blow.
Over 160 killed, 200 tourists still missing after deadly floods hit Nepal. India steps up relief measures as flood ravages Nepal. 10-ton humanitarian assistance reaches Nepal. The United States Geological Survey clarifies that glacier collapse caused Nepal flash floods, not earthquake. Bihar and Uttar Pradesh remain on high alert after deadly flash floods in Nepal. Water level swells in Bagaha Gandak River. India and China to set up military hotline on Arunachal and middle sectors to set up joint expert group to fast-track boundary issue. Viewers, welcome to Live and Breaking with me, Karun Seth on Republic. Now, the Nepal government intensifies flood response in Rasuwa, search, rescue and relief operations in areas affected by massive floods in Bhote Koshi River. Nepali army delivers essential food, tents and medicines to those at risk. Army and private helicopters pressed into service. Foot teams deployed in Timure, Sayabusi and riverine areas. Now, the government urges residents near the riverbanks to stay on high alert. Now, there you see on the screens the Nepali government intensifying search and rescue operations along the flood-hit areas. We've got a list of the areas which is predominantly in Rasuwa. Search and rescue and relief operations that are in areas that are affected by flash floods are currently on. In Bhote Koshi River, Nepali army is currently delivering food, tents and medicines to those at risk. Now, the army and private helicopters immediately pressed into service. There are foot teams that are currently deployed in Timure, Sayabrubesi and riverine areas. Now, the government is urging citizens near riverbanks to stay on high alert. This as the floods continue to wreak havoc across Nepal. Now, this, as you see visuals on your screen, viewers, the Nepali security forces, search and rescue teams are currently in operation across the flood-hit areas, specifically across the riverbank areas. All right, viewers, moving on to our next update, massive flash floods, devastation across Nepal and Tibet is what we're seeing. Over 550 people are missing in Tibet. The Chinese state media has confirmed this. At least 162 are dead in Nepal as of the latest updates and in the floods so far. Now, rescue and search operations have intensified on both sides of the border. We see rescue and search operations both across the Nepali side as well as the Tibetan side of the border. Search and operations are currently underway. The latest figures that are coming to Republic is that over 160 people have died, over 550 are still missing. And on both sides of the border, both on the Tibetan side of the border and across the Nepalese side, the search and rescue operations are currently in way. You see on your screens on the right, viewers, this is members of the search and rescue operation. And now the Chinese state media, now remember this is coming in from the Chinese side now, has confirmed that 550 are missing in Tibet alone. Now the numbers that we're getting is 160 have died in Nepal. Additionally, from the Tibetan side, we're getting updates from the Chinese side that over 550 are still missing. Now, if you look at the visuals there, viewers, you see a bridge there being carried along with the water. You see mud, you see water, you look at the brown water there, you see a house there which is literally on the verge of collapsing. Look at the strong flow of water there, visuals. That's the force of the Bhote Koshi River. Now, massive surge of muddy water roaring through the valley, wiping out riverbanks, tearing down structures and threatening entire communities. Now, authorities are issuing stern warning to everyone along those riverbanks to move to higher ground immediately. There you see some of the rescue workers running away because of the sheer force of the water there.
Oh my God, Maru. Oh my God, Maru. Oh my God. Oh boy. पुरै सिंगै सिंगै नालो 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 हेर्नु पनि लाग्यो सबै लाग्यो
Now, viewers, we're getting the latest numbers on the tourists from India who are currently missing in Nepal. It's been confirmed to Republic that 37 tourists from Tamil Nadu, 32 from West Bengal are among those who are missing. Over 130 Indians in total, as per the Nepali officials. Now, flash floods swept through central Nepal, cutting off affected areas, stranding many. Now, the surge was triggered by a glacial collapse near the Nepal-China border. There you see visuals on your screen, viewers. Ground zero images right there on your screen. Army personnel and local security forces, people pulling out of high-risk areas. Now, the emergency response is happening at lightning speed, but there you see people submerged in water and the rescue official, people trying to escape the flooded areas, mostly submerged in water and trying to escape the areas. There you see flashes of the high velocity water. You see a lot of mud there. You see on your screens there, viewers, that's coming in round zero visuals of the flash floods in Nepal, where citizens are struggling to come out of the water. We have dead bodies, unfortunately, that are currently being recovered. You see people, the rescue officials, rescue personnel there, and there you see the massive flow of the water. You see that huge flow of mud. Structures, look at the force of that water, viewers. That's the Bhote Koshi River, now an absolute torrent. Now, what started as a landslide became a dam of debris, And when that gave away, it created a wall of water that crashed down through these narrow valleys. You can see the debris in the water there, trees, rubble, parts of buildings. Communities that existed for generations are just gone, viewers. Unfortunate there. The flood has happened so fast. Rescue teams are telling us people had almost no warning. The water moving through those valleys at incredible speed. Now, if you were downstream, there was no time to escape, and you can see why. This isn't normal river flooding, viewers. This is a surge of water with the force of concrete. The destruction there, almost total. Houses there, you can see just partially submerged in mud. Some swept away completely. The mud that came with the water has buried entire settlements. And it's not just home, viewers. Critical infrastructure there gone. You see a bridge being swept away. 6 major hydropower stations have been damaged. This means the region is now facing power cuts on top of everything else. Look at these bridges, viewers, completely destroyed. That cuts off access. Rescue teams cannot reach some areas because there are no roads left. It creates a cascading crisis, viewers. People are trapped. Injured people cannot get to hospitals. And then there's a question of aftershocks. We are still in that risk territory. There you see the house, the valley here lined with communities. Every settlement across this river system has been hit, viewers. From Rasuwa district all the way down through Novakot, the government has activated search and rescue, but the terrain, you see, viewers, is extremely difficult there. The terrain, extremely difficult. Helicopters being deployed. There you see the search and rescue officials being deployed. But ground access is simply not possible in many areas. Rescue teams working around the clock. You see there the sheer force of the water. You see there the Nepalese army personnel, the armed personnel, local police, all mobilized. They're using helicopters because that's often the only way to reach survivors. And they're searching for bodies. Look at the force of that water, viewers. Houses, floods, people running from those flooded areas, crushing flood waters, wiping out villages there. Now, viewers, in another major breaking, more than 300 foreign nationals who are missing in catastrophic flash flooding areas that hit Nepal on Wednesday include 47 Americans, 33 from the UK, and about 34 Australians as well. These are the numbers we're getting of the foreign nationals that have been hit and swept away in the flash floods in Nepal. 300 we hear is the total number of foreign nationals who are missing in the catastrophic flash flooding that hit Nepal on Wednesday. This includes 47 Americans, 33 Britishers, and about 34 Australians. Now, this has prompted international assistance to Nepal. It's been nearly 24 hours now since massive flash floods and landslides wiped away entire villages in Nepal over the border with Tibet. Over 157 people have been killed and hundreds more are missing, many of them foreign tourists, authorities say. We have gotten the exact number there. We see over 33 Americans which are missing. We get about more than 30 foreigner Australians who are missing and more than 30 Britishers who are missing there as well. And now that with the foreign nationals missing, international assistance is also reaching Nepal. We've got our next breaking there, viewers, as well. Over 50 Malaysians still out of contact following the floods. Malaysian media reports are saying that over 50 Malaysians are still out of contact from the flood-hit areas. Now, search efforts are on to trace those unaccounted for. This is, it's not just Nepalese, it's not just Indian tourists. Now you see the visuals on your screen that the entire house there being destroyed and getting flown away with the massive force of the water there. Now, this comes across as an international crisis now, viewers, because we see that a lot of foreign nationals are missing there. Initially, we got you reports of Americans, Britishers, and Australians missing. Now we've got reports of over 55 Malaysians as well who've been missing, according to the Malaysian reports. Viewers, so it's not just Indians or Nepalese citizens. We're looking at over 400 tourists currently who are unaccounted for, most of them foreigners. Now, viewers, these are people who came to Nepal for adventure, for trekking, for the mountains. Some Indians there who went for the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. These people are from all over the world, more than 140 Indian nationals. Now, that's the largest group, but we also have Americans unaccounted for. We've got Australians, British tourists, people from Malaysia, the Netherlands, Portugal, South Africa, South Korea. It's a truly international crisis, viewers, that's unfolding. You look at your screens there, people fleeing, running away from the flood-hit areas. Now, viewers, Nepal is battling a devastating flood crisis, as you all know, with massive flooding leaving behind a trail of unprecedented destruction across the country. Powerful visuals capture the scale of the devastation as rescue and relief operations continue in several affected areas. As Nepal faces this massive humanitarian crisis, India stands firmly with its neighbor, extending support and humanitarian assistance for relief efforts. Republic Editor-in-Chief Arnab Goswami brings you the latest on the Nepal floods, with ground visuals capturing the scale of destruction in the ongoing rescue and relief operations.
Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a terrible, terrible flash flood in Nepal. And right on top, on behalf of everyone here at the Republic Media Network, we want to say to the people of Nepal, the brave people of Nepal, that India is with Nepal, Bharat is with Nepal. What has happened is extraordinarily tragic when a sudden surge of river from the Tibetan side, the Chinese side, triggers a flash flood that affects one whole district and all the downstream areas along the Trishuli River in Nepal. Some of the visuals of what has happened are truly heart-rending and extremely worrying. The first visual I'll show you, you can see the sheer power of this flash flood, because in a blink of an eye, a massive wall of water surges through the valley, demolishing buildings. Then in visual 2, you will see how there is this terrifying moment when people are just going about their daily routine, suddenly overrun and completely overwhelmed by the flood. This picture has gone viral. It's just so scary because the waves are many, many stories high. In the third visual, you will see how people are running across the roads and the bridge trying to save their lives, but the water from the flood completely overwhelms the area and it sweeps everything away, completely submerging this whole area. Look at the force of the water as it enters that area. Ladies and gentlemen, the extent of the devastation and destruction is so extreme. The sheer overwhelming force of the volume of water in visual 4, which is causing the devastation. Cars are getting rocked, completely taken away, house broken, taken away too. And in visual 5, the water's volume and force and the speed with which it is devastating everything in its path is clearly visible. You will see the kind of embankments, like dam-like structures which are washed away. I have personally never seen this force of a flood happening. They say it's a combination of events, but there are certain concerns about what has happened from the Chinese side. We'll talk about that later today on the program. Viewers, there is a 10-second visual which shows the exact magnitude of this flood. You must see this because this is from a top angle. Just look at the sheer strength as it takes the house away and then submerges the whole area. And in the last visual, you will see a bridge which is swept away. This is unprecedented destruction and devastation in Nepal.
Now, viewers, Donald Trump is back with another renaming idea, and this time it's Lake Ontario. He says he's thinking of renaming it Lake America, and this comes right in the middle of a full-blown trade war with Canada. Remember, last year he renamed the Gulf of Mexico as Gulf of America by executive order. Now it seems Lake Ontario is next. The US and Canada already locked in a tariff fight, 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods after talks collapsed. Now that's President Trump for you, back again with publicly floating the idea of renaming Lake Ontario to Lake America. He announced this on Truth Social day before, on 25th August, this amid escalating trade tensions with Canada. Now, why the name change? Well, the proposal here is directly tied to his administration's trade war with Canada. Specifically, Donald Trump has also linked it to a breakdown in trade talks and a personal spat with Ontario Premier Doug Ford. Now, Trump has stated that he doesn't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer. Now, viewers, this follows a pattern. This mirrors Trump's 2025 executive order to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And now again, amid the trade war between US and Canada, where both sides after the trade talks between them failed. It's the US which initially stated that they'll be imposing 50% tariffs on $28 billion worth of Canadian goods which will be imported into the US. It was followed by a tit-for-tat action by the Canadian side, with Doug Ford announcing that Canada will match it with a 50% tariff from their end as well on $20 billion of American goods being imported into Canada. Now, while President Trump has broad authority to rename domestic geography features, remember, he cannot unilaterally name an internationally shared body of water. And any US change would only apply if the federal government actually agrees to it. Now, viewers, the United States back to Nepal now. The United States Geological Survey. All right, viewers, time to pause for a short break. The United States Geological Survey confirms glacier collapse caused Nepal floods, not an earthquake.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
AU करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री UPI QR ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम। AU
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
ايش عملتي؟ ما عملتيش شيء يا حبيبتي.
ايوه باص هنا
Now, viewers, a massive flash flood has hit Nepal's northern Rasuwa district near the Tibetan border, causing widespread damage to roads, bridges, vehicles and buildings. Visuals from the affected area show the scale of destruction after a sudden surge of water and debris swept through the region. At least 160 people have been killed and nearly 400 are missing, including more than 133 Indian tourists missing. Here's the report.
Sudden surge of water triggered flash flooding in Rasuwa district of Nepal, causing extensive damage across the region. The rising waters quickly submerged areas along the river banks, with the flood carrying large amounts of debris downstream. Several trucks were caught in the flood waters and swept away along with the debris. Buildings in the affected areas also suffered heavy damage, with some structures collapsing amid the flooding. Several vehicles were also swept away by the strong current as the flood waters moved through the area. Critical infrastructure was affected as well, with a hydropower project damaged by the flooding. A bridge in the affected region also collapsed under the impact of floodwaters, disrupting connectivity. The flooding has left behind widespread destruction across Rasuwa, with roads, buildings and other infrastructure damaged or swept away. The floodwaters have also moved downstream towards the Tributary River basin, with areas including Nuwakot being closely monitored. Rescue teams from the Nepal Army, Police and Armed Police Force are carrying out search and rescue operations, while authorities continue to assess the damage. The cause of the sudden surge is still being investigated, with officials examining the possibility of a glacial lake outburst flood after significant rainfall was recorded on the Tibetan site.
Now viewers, Nagaland Minister Tenje Nimna Along shares a special Onam wish. Taking to X, Minister Along posted a video with the caption, "When Onam vibes hit different, even the robots join the celebration." Now the video shows robots joining in the festive spirit, reflecting the joy and colors of Onam. We leave you with the visuals and the video.
बेस्ट हरा बोर्ड दिखाना। सबसे डिपेंडेबल सेंचुरी HDF प्रीमियम प्लस। ट्रायल लूंगा। श्योर। वाटर रेजिस्टेंट है, स्ट्रॉन्ग है, हाई डेंसिटी वुड फाइबर स्ट्रक्चर, एडवांस जर्मन एडिसिव बॉन्डिंग, सॉलिड डिफेंस। ट्रायल में पास। सेंचुरी के 40 सालों का भरोसा, हरे बोर्ड का असली बॉस। सेंचुरी HDF प्रीमियम प्लस।
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो।
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
Iran's economy is staring at a fresh shock. The Iranian rial has crashed to a new record low, hitting 2.02 million rial to $1 in market trading. And the timing is significant. Washington is preparing to unveil another round of sanctions, promising to tighten the economic screws on Tehran even further. Donald Trump has already declared on social media, Iran is completely collapsing. But here is the big question, is Iran really collapsing, or is Tehran using the Strait of Hormuz to run its economic weakness into global pressure point? For ordinary Iranians, the currency crash is not just number flashing on a trading screen. It is hitting the kitchen table, it is hitting savings, and it is hitting the cost of survival. Iran was already struggling with a double-digit inflation and negative economic growth before the latest phase of the conflict. But months of war, previous sanctions, and growing international isolation have pushed the pressure to another level. The numbers tell a brutal story. Since the war began, rice prices have reportedly risen by around 60%. Beef prices are more than 150% higher. And the International Monetary Fund is forecasting that Iran's economy could shrink by more than 5%. Imagine what means for an ordinary family. Every trip to
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and welcome viewers, you're watching live and breaking on Republic TV with me Ishita Mitra. Now viewers, Nepal has been hit by devastating flash floods. The death toll has now risen over 160 while 500 people are still missing. And in fact, there are 130 Indians among the missing. Rescue operations are now being carried out rapidly on the ground, but villages being cut off, the entire roads, bridges being washed away is now hampering the entire rescue operation. We'll get you all the updates as Republic is present on the ground, getting you all the updates from the ground. First up, a quick check at the top headlines. Over 160 killed and 200 tourists are still missing after deadly floods hit Nepal. India steps up relief measures as flood ravages Nepal. 10-ton humanitarian assistance now reaches the Himalayan nation. US Geological Survey clarifies a glacier collapse caused Nepal flash floods and not an earthquake. Bihar and Uttar Pradesh remain on high alert after deadly flash floods ravages in Nepal. Water level swells in Bagaha Gandak River. India and China to step up military hotline on Arunachal and middle sector to step up joint expert group to fast-track boundary issue. Welcome viewers, our top focus at this hour, what is right now unfolding in Nepal. Now viewers, the flash floods in Nepal has claimed more than 150 lives and even more are missing. Roads, bridges, all have been swept away. Entire villages are now submerged underwater and many people are left hopeless. Such was the sight after the deadly flash floods hit the Himalayan nation. In the latest report by USGS, they claim that the flash floods were in fact not caused by an earthquake, but rather it was a glacial outburst, a landslide which triggered an earthquake. Now, India and Nepal have intensified their search and rescue operations on the ground. India, in fact, has sent 10 tons of humanitarian assistance to the Himalayan nation, showing and asserting and reaffirming India's support to Nepal at this difficult hour. We're getting more updates as to how the rescue operations are now unfolding on the ground. We'll get you all the updates as how Nepal's government has also now intensified flood response in Rasuwa district. In fact, search and rescue and relief operations are right now underway in areas which are affected by massive floods in Bhote Koshi River. Nepali army is now delivering essential food items, tents as well as medicines to those which in fact remain stranded in those regions. Now, army and private helicopters have also been pressed into service. Foot teams have also been deployed in several areas, including Timure, Saibrubeshi and riverine areas. Government urges residents near river banks to stay on high alert. So we're getting all these updates right now from the ground, where we're looking at rescue operations are being underway at a rapid pace. In fact, we understand helicopters, choppers, whether it's used for military, paramilitary, or they're used for private tourism purposes, all have now been roped in for the rescue operation right now. All right, in fact, joining us on the broadcast right now is Jhalanath Khanal, who's also the former Prime Minister of the country. Thank you so much, Mr. Khanal, for joining us on Republic TV. First of all, sending you our condolences at this difficult hour. India stands with Nepal. And now I want to ask you, it's been over 24 hours since this tragedy struck Nepal. We've seen some very scary visuals coming to light, showing us the kind of devastation that Nepal is now grappling with. If you could help our viewers to understand the scale of the damage and the devastation which has, occurred due to these flash floods, and where are we with the rescue operations at this stage?
Thank you very much. Actually, it's a very devastating event in Nepal. A very devastating flood, and that has created a lot of material and people lost in our country. About 160 people has already been lost their life, according to the latest information, and more than 500 people are missing, including some tourists also from India and many other countries. So, and many vehicles, about 300 vehicles have been swept up, and 19 bridges and along that river has already been swept up or destroyed, and about 14 hydropower projects has also been damaged. So about 430 megawatt of electricity has been stopped now. That's why the area is facing very much difficulty. The road had been also destroyed. About 42-kilometer roads had been destroyed, according to the information, and the communication has been stopped. But the rescue operation is now going on despite all these difficulties. Right. Military has been mobilized, police has been mobilized, and all political parties, administration, local administration has been mobilized, and the people has been mobilized. So the rescue work is going on.
Right. So, you just described the kind of scale of devastation that right now Nepal is grappling with, these flash floods hitting the nation. If you could also elaborate, because you did talk about the kind of challenges that right now security forces and rescue, personnel are facing on the ground. Entire villages have been cut off, roads have been wiped away, bridges have collapsed due to these flash floods. So a lot of the stretch is now not, cannot be reached out. Basically, it's non-motorable at the moment. So what are the kind of difficulties which are being faced during these rescue operations, and at what pace are we looking at these rescue operations to continue right now on the ground?
Actually, due to the destruction of the road, it's very difficult to arrive in the difficult area, and people have been running from that area to save their life, and they have already run, and some people have, not only some, but thousands of people have saved their life. But how many people has been killed, it's still under investigation. So the communication has been trying to be established by the government. Actually, government has mobilized 6-7 helicopters, choppers, and then they are trying to provide some aid to the area and to the people, and they are trying to save the people also from many difficult areas. That is going on. But people are facing so many kinds of difficulties. Just for example, they have been evacuated from that area, and they have run in adjacent areas. They have no house, no clothes, no medicine, etc. That type of difficulties they are facing now.
Sure, sir. We can understand how difficult it must be for these rescue personnel on the ground. But I want to understand, as far as the origin of these flash floods goes, there have been different theories which have come out. First, it was said to be an earthquake which triggered these flash floods. But now the USGS has come out with a clarification saying it was instead a landslide which caused these floods in the first place. How is Nepal's government looking at the origins of this disaster?
Actually, this is not the first time this type of incident occurred. Since a long time, ICIMOD was also studying about it and providing some awareness about it, but the proper arrangement was not arranged up to it. That's why this type of devastation has occurred. Actually, this is not the problem of only Nepal.
Right.
As we all of us know that carbon emission is going on, global warming is going on, and the ice is melting every second. So many types of glacier glaciers are also melting. That's why any time, any kinds of incident could occur.
Right.
But we have not been able to do proper arrangement to counter this. So this is not the problem of only Nepal. It's the problem of Nepal, India, China, and all countries adjacent to this Himalayan area.
Right. Right. So, in fact, I agree with you on this note that, when you talk about global warming, when you talk about increasing carbon emission, Himalayan entire belt is one of the most vulnerable regions in the world. So, therefore, you have India, China, Bhutan, Nepal, all of these nations will get impacted as and when disasters of such scale occur. So, what do you think is the need of the hour? What kind of preparation measures do you think are required, the kind of coordination also required among these South Asian nations at this point?
Yeah, South Asia and China must come together to study about it, to provide a proper infrastructure to counter about it, and a proper type of permanent cooperation. We must develop an emergency fund also we need, and at the same time, the information system should have to be established from China to the whole South Asia region.
Right, in fact, and so before I let you go, I also want to ask you, because this is not the first kind of incident which has hit Nepal. We've seen similar such incident also, unfold in the country, and being a downstream nation, it also has to face the devastating consequences. So what are the lessons that Nepal has drawn from such, such natural disasters that can also be implied, on a different scales?
Yeah, actually, it's a very important question you put forward. We must take a great lesson from this incident, not only for Nepal, but China, India, and whole South Asia and China should take a lesson, and we must come together. We have to study about it, as the ICIMOD also provided some report. We have to study more comprehensively and try to find out more concrete and aggregated, integrated solution for it. Technically, economically, and socially, and politically, in all aspects, we have to study about it and make a long-term and short-term plan.
Right, so I agree with you. That is, in fact, the need of the hour. You know, at this difficult hour, a lot of countries have pledged in support for Nepal. India, of course, being a first responder, has already dispatched humanitarian assistance. But if you could tell us, you know, the kind of help that Nepal is getting from the countries around the world at the moment.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to extend my thanks to Indian government and Indian people for your concern and help in the difficult time. At the same time, all other countries, China and US and UN, or all other concerned countries, we would like to extend our call to help us, in particularly in providing some tents at this time, medicine and clothes, and also daily necessary things for the people.
All right, and before I let you go, my last question to you, sir. Any one message that you have that you want to send in through Republic TV, as Nepal right now is grappling with a devastating flood right now. We're looking at these visuals. You know, the death toll has risen to over 150. So this is not, you know, an hour that has happened before. It's a very, very difficult hour for the country. So any message that you want to send to, you know, to people around the world through our platform?
Yeah. All of the countries and people around the world must together to protect our environment, because environment is degrading day by day because of global warming and carbon emission, etc. So we must follow the environmental protection conclusion of the international conference, and we have to implement it so that our environment degradation has been stopped, and a new environment, a green environment, environment could be created in the world, in our region, and in our country.
For joining us on Republic TV, and that's the big message coming in from former Prime Minister of Nepal, that right now ecological conservation is the need of the hour. Thanks so much, sir, for joining us on Republic.
Thank you very much.
And now, viewers, that was the former Prime Minister of Nepal getting us all the details on what scale the damage has now taken place in the Himalayan nation, the kind of pace at which rescue operations are right now unfolding across the state, and also sending out a message that right now ecological conservation is the need of the hour, and there is cooperation needed among South Asian nations to deal with disasters of such scale. So that's the message coming in from former Prime Minister of Nepal. And as Republic continues to get you all the updates on what is right now happening in the flood-hit nation of Nepal, we'll try and show you the visuals, the devastating, the scary visuals which have come to light from across Nepal. Let's get started with that. All right, in fact, these are the visuals which have come in first, showing you how these people are struggling to save their lives as flood water has gushed in fact, roping in. It's not just flood water, it is mud, it is slush, all roped in into this, which is making difficult for these citizens, these people to, in fact, make their way out of this slush right now. So you can see the struggle, in fact, on your screen as people are trying to save their lives. The second visual, which has also come out from Nepal, shows us, again, you know, it's a very concerning thing. This is where bodies are being recovered. This is this extent of damage. We know the death toll has now crossed over 160, and right now you can see on the river banks, bodies are being washed away, and they're being recovered from these personnel, from these people who are now, in fact, on the banks. All right, third visual also coming in is showing you how the entire wall of mud has now been swept away in floods. You can see the speed at which the water is gushing in, and how it's essentially swallowing everything that's coming in its way. You can see a wall of mud that gets swept away by the flood waters that gushes in, again showing you the kind of intensity with which Nepal has been hit in these floods. Another visual that's come to light shows you that how bridges, the infrastructure, connectivity has been impacted. Now in this screen, you can see the entire bridge. It first caves in and then it's swept away by the gushing water. So also showing you that how difficult it has become to carry out the rescue operations on ground, as roads, bridges have been swept away by the flood waters which has been gushing in the flood hit areas of Nepal. Another visual showing you that it's not just the bridges, the roads which have been hit, but residential houses have also been swept in these flood waters. And right now you can see that this house, which is essentially located on the banks, it collapses first and then it gets swept away by the flood waters. So again showing you the scale of destruction which the Nepal is grappling with at the moment. And another visual shows you the extent to which villages have been submerged in this entire, you can see it's not just the flood waters, it is a mud, slush, all mixed up. And entire villages are now buried in these streams of mud which came along with the landslide. And now these are the visuals which have been shot in through a chopper, from inside a chopper, a rescue chopper essentially. Some people are inside which have been rescued, and you can see it is overlooking villages, the valley through which these flood waters gushed in, and currently the entire village stands submerged, and it is a stream of mud essentially which has buried these homes in your screen. And this is one visual. In fact, it's apocalyptic to say the least, but you know, it's very scary visuals also. You can see people running for their lives as they see how the flood water essentially is gushing in with a kind of speed, with a kind of intensity it gushes in. People can be seen running for their lives. Unfortunately, it was you know, it's no time that they could run away, but in seconds you see that the flood water essentially takes away these people and sweeps away villages. All right, in fact, joining us on the broadcast is Ashirwad Raj Jha, who's joining us from Kathmandu. He's a youth activist and a forester at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Jha, for joining us on Republic TV. We understand right now Nepal is dealing with a very difficult situation at the hour, and in this difficult moment, India stands with Nepal. If you could help us update, you know, with the kind of rescue operations which are taking place on the ground. So what's the latest you're fetching on that?
Am I audible to you, Isita?
Yes, Mr. Jha, you're audible to us. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you, Isita. Thank you for your prayers and all those things. All of us know that it has been quite devastating moment to all the Nepalese all around the world. And yes, a rescue operation, relief funds are being carried out in the places where the flash flood has been affected. And all the different three major security personnel, Nepal Army, Armed Police Force, Nepal Police, and other various organization, health sector has been working to just rescue and support with the relief funds. And as I was watching the former PM Lhende Khola, he told that it has been a very tragic moment to all those who has lost their life, and it was all of the sudden. It's so pity, you know. I see that. Yes. So this kind of calamities, this kind of disaster, it is so unfortunate to all the people who has been lost their life and who has been affected by this.
As you mentioned, we were talking to Prime Minister of Nepal, a former Prime Minister, just a short while ago, and you yourself are an activist, a youth activist. I want to understand, this is not the first time that Nepal has been hit by such a tragedy. We have seen that Nepal, being located, of course, in the Himalayan belt, is very vulnerable to such disasters. So if you could talk about the kind of preparations which have been at place and also the kind of preparations which are needed in future.
So yeah, exactly. This has been so that we have been weakened in the place that early warning system has to be there, because if there were an early warning system, they were warned earlier. Many lives have been saved at this time. So majorly the Lhende Khola, where all this flash flood begin. So it affected the two major rivers, the Bhote Koshi and the Trishuli, which were in the place Kerung, and in the Tibetan side it was Gairong dry port. So on that place, the early warning system or early message should have been conveyed earlier, and this is the responsibility of the government of India, China and the Nepal government, that they have just made earlier information to all the people who have been settled there. So we as activists, we request the government of both the country, China and Nepal, this will have been prepared earlier to save the lives. Right. And we have heard that different MOUs and different meetings they have conducted. So this kind of calamity disaster cannot be stopped, but the lives of people can be saved. What I mean to tell you. So this could have been informed earlier, this all began with the earthquake in the yesterday in around 8:37 a.m. So the government of Nepal and China, they could have conveyed their message that now the flash flood gonna be occur in these places, this major village cities gonna be affected. So this should be done earlier,
All right, so you're saying early warning systems, in fact, need to be installed at the moment, that one can see the ecology of the region is such that one is, in fact, very susceptible to such disasters. On that note, thank you, Mr. Jha, for joining us on Republic and sharing your inputs on this. And with that, viewers, we're slipping into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. Coming up on the other side, India now steps up relief measures as flood ravages Nepal. A 10-ton humanitarian assistance now reaches the Himalayan nation. We'll get you all the updates of what is unfolding on the ground on the other side. Stay tuned.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
I wake up wearing someone else again. Don't let it slip. I'm losing. I don't wanna be safe anymore.
Finding myself. That's my moment of Sarah.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
ايش عملتي؟ ما عملتيش شيء يا حبيبتي.
رموا 4 صواريخ وهذا الدمار كله بسبب الصواريخ هذول.
ايش صار في النازحين والخيم؟
النازحين وممتلكات، هي ممتلكات وهانة ونازحين للأسف كلهم اتدمروا. للأسف الحين هم بلا مأوى. هم هالوقت بلا مكان يروحوا يقعدوا له. هم الحين بفكروا كيف يستقروا، كيف يروحوا لمكان آمن ثاني أو كيف يستقروا في هذا المكان. بدنا نعيش بأمان، بدنا نعيش بحياتنا. بدنا نحس هاي بيت، شايفين كيف؟ هاي هذا البيت تدمر واحنا واقفين وبنتكلم بسبب القصف اللي كان قبل شويه.
Over 160 killed and 200 tourists are missing after deadly floods hit Nepal. India steps up relief measures as flood ravages Nepal. 10-ton humanitarian assistance reaches the Himalayan nation. The United States Geological Survey clarifies a glacier collapse caused a Nepal flash floods and not an earthquake. Bihar and Uttar Pradesh remain on high alert after deadly floods hit Nepal. Water levels swells in Bagaha Gandak River. India-China to set up military hotline on Arunachal and Middle Sector to set up joint expert group to fast-track boundary issue. Welcome viewers, you're watching Live and Breaking on Republic TV with me, Ishita Mitra, and our top focus right now, what is unfolding in Nepal. Now, the flash floods in the country have already claimed more than 150 lives and over 500 people are still missing. Roads, bridges, all have been swept away while entire villages remain submerged underwater. Many, in fact, are left homeless, and such was the sight after the deadly flash floods hit the country. Now, in the latest report by USGS, the organization has now clarified that flash floods were not caused by an earthquake, but rather by a landslide which triggered an earthquake eventually. Now, India and Nepal have intensified their search and rescue operations on the ground. India, in fact, has sent about 10 tons of humanitarian assistance, showing that Bharat stands shoulder to shoulder with Nepal at this difficult hour. So these are the latest updates that we're fetching for you viewers as Nepal continue to grapple with such difficult disaster at the moment. We'll try and show you the visuals as well, which have come to light. Now, the first visual, in fact, on your screen shows you how people have been struggling to save their lives. These are few people who are trapped inside the flood waters. They're, in fact, trying to take their belongings out of this water. Now, remember, it's not just the flood water. It is essentially a mix of mud, slush, which has come in along with the landslide, and therefore, this is making it difficult for these people to make their way out of the flood waters. The second visual, in fact, which has come to light shows you the kind of devastation which Nepal is grappling with at the hour. Now, these are visuals, very unfortunate visuals of dead bodies are being recovered. They are, in fact, being washed away on the river banks right now, and you can see people who are picking up these bodies from the water right now and helping in the operation. So again, showing you with the kind of devastation and death Nepal is dealing with at the moment. The death toll has already risen to over 160. Another visual that's come to light showing you the extent of damage which Nepal is now dealing with. This shows you the gushing waters coming in and sweeping away an entire wall of mud along with it. And this is essentially then, of course, goes ahead and submerges several other villages in Nepal as well. So in your screen, you can see how the water gushes in with the kind of speed it comes in and then sweeps away an entire wall of mud, taking along the debris in its path. Another visual which has come to light shows you how bridges, in fact, are being swept away. Roads are completely destroyed. And this is when the flood waters, in fact, it seems to be gushing in. You can see on your screen how the bridge first caves in and then is swept away by the flood waters. This also shows you it's not just the bridges, the roads which are becoming a casualty due to these flash floods. Houses, residential structures have also been hit. This is one such house which is in fact swept away in flood waters. And this is a visual which has come to light showing you how rescue operations are now being carried on a war footing. This entire video has been shot from a chopper in which some people who have been rescued are present inside. But what it's overlooking is the entire valley being buried under a stream of mud slush right now. And this is where the flood waters entered Nepal, and you can see the entire valley is now buried in a stream of mud and slush. Let's take a look at these visuals. And now viewers, this is another video showing you the extent of damage and the kind of unfortunate incident which unfolded in Nepal. You can see how the flood waters are gushing in, and in a matter of seconds it just crosses into the valley as well, and people can be seen running for their lives in panic. They're running helter-skelter, but of course the speed with which it's coming in, it takes away these people along with it, and it's a very unfortunate visual which has come to light, but also a defining one for what Nepal is dealing with right now. Another visual, in fact, viewers, is showing you that it was in a matter of seconds that this tragedy unfolded. You can see how bridges, how anything essentially that comes in the way of these flood waters is swept away. You can see people, in fact, running again in panic. They're fleeing, they're trying to save their lives, and the water gushes in with such speed that it sweeps away anything that comes in its way. It's apocalyptic to say the least right now, what we're seeing on our screen at these visuals coming in, showing you the kind of intensity with which the flood waters hit these areas in Nepal and swept away the entire buildings, swept away the entire villages, in fact. Now, viewers, in fact, to further take away and to understand the gravity with which what Nepal is dealing with right now, we'll try and show you the visuals as to what Nepal is grappling with right now. In fact, these are the visuals which have come to light, showing you that, again, citizens struggling there in a stream of mud, slush. Water is there, of course, and, their belongings which have been swept away by flood water. So they're just clinging on to some of their belongings, trying to save them, trying to save themselves as well. You can see one young man, in fact, clinging to a cylinder to save their life. Another visual which has come to light again shows away the unfortunate state right now. These are dead bodies are being recovered, which are washed at the shores, at the riverbank essentially. And these are people who are taking part in that operation. This is what Nepal is dealing with. You can see the kind of intensity, the force with which the flood waters gushes in, and the entire wall of mud is then swept away. So this is what has downstream areas been dealing with, the mud, the slush that is coming in and burying entire villages in Nepal. So essentially telling you how it started. These are visuals coming in from some of the upper reaches in Nepal, of course, and this essentially then goes down and sweeps away, buries down entire villages. This again is showing you that the water is coming at such force that it's not stopping at anything, whether it's bridges, roads, houses, anything that comes in its way is getting swept away. And this is one such house that collapses due to the sheer pressure with which water is coming in and gets swept away in the flood waters. All right, in fact, viewers, as we look at these visuals, one thing has been proven, that Nepal right now is battling a devastating flood crisis with a massive flooding now leaving behind a trail of unprecedented destruction across the country. Powerful visuals that we just showed you, they capture the scale of the devastation as rescue and relief operations are now underway on a war footing across the country. So viewers, as Nepal now faces this massive humanitarian crisis, India is standing firmly with the Himalayan nation, extending support and humanitarian assistance for relief efforts. Republic Editor-in-Chief Arnab Goswami brings you the latest on the Nepal floods with ground visuals capturing again the scale of destruction and the ongoing relief and rescue operations. Take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a terrible, terrible flash flood in Nepal. And right on top, on behalf of everyone here at the Republic Media Network, we want to say to the people of Nepal, the brave people of Nepal, that India is with Nepal, Bharat is with Nepal. What has happened is extraordinarily tragic when a sudden surge of river from the Tibetan side, the Chinese side, triggers a flash flood that affects one whole district and all the downstream areas along the Trishuli River in Nepal. Some of the visuals of what has happened are truly heart-rending and extremely worrying. The first visual I'll show you, you can see the sheer power of this flash flood, because in a blink of an eye, a massive wall of water surges through the valley, demolishing buildings. Then in visual 2, you will see how there is this terrifying moment when people are just going about their daily routine, suddenly overrun and completely overwhelmed by the flood. This picture has gone viral. It's just so scary because the waves are many, many stories high. In the third visual, you will see how people are running across the roads and the bridge trying to save their lives, but the water from the flood completely overwhelms the area and it sweeps everything away, completely submerging this whole area. Look at the force of the water as it enters that area. Ladies and gentlemen, the extent of the devastation and destruction is so extreme. The sheer overwhelming force of the volume of water in visual 4, which is causing the devastation, cars are getting rocked, completely taken away, house broken, taken away too. And in visual 5, the water's volume and force and the speed with which it is devastating everything in its path is clearly visible. You will see the kind of embankments, like dam-like structures which are washed away. I have personally never seen this force of a flood happening. They say it's a combination of events, but there are certain concerns about what has happened from the Chinese side. We'll talk about that later today on the program. Viewers, there is a 10-second visual which shows the exact magnitude of this flood. You must see this because this is from a top angle. Just look at the sheer strength as it takes the house away and then submerges the whole area. And in the last visual, you will see a bridge which is swept away. This is unprecedented destruction and devastation in Nepal.
All right, viewers, and now time for some updates coming to life from the world of business. Over to my colleague Rupali for the latest.
Yes, Ashita. Big business news is coming from social media giant Meta, which has agreed to pay up to $18 billion to settle lawsuits accusing Facebook and Instagram of harming children, with the payments to be made over the next 10 years. The settlement covers cases filed by 47 US states and territories which accused Meta of making its platforms addictive and failing to protect young users. So what changes now? Under the proposed settlement, teenagers could be limited to around 2 hours of social media a day. Overnight access could also be restricted, while parents could get more control over how and when their children uses these platforms. That could also limit on notifications and social media use during school hours. Meta will pay at least $12.7 billion, while this could also reach to $18 billion if other major platform agrees to similar measures. Over to you, Ishita.
All right, thank you so much, Rupali, for joining us and getting us the latest on this. With that, viewers, we're slipping into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. Coming up on the other side, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh now remain on high alert after deadly floods hit Nepal. Water level now swells in Bagaha Gandak River. We'll get you all the updates of what is unfolding right now in Nepal as rescue operations continue on war footing. Stay tuned.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट अब बताओ स्वाद आया
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
रानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो।
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
Iran's economy is staring at a fresh shock. The Iranian rial has crashed to a new record low, hitting 2.02 million rial to $1 in market trading. And the timing is significant. Washington is preparing to unveil another round of sanctions, promising to tighten the economic screws on Tehran even further. Donald Trump has already declared on social media, Iran is completely collapsing. But here is the big question, is Iran really collapsing, or is Tehran using the Strait of Hormuz to run its economic weakness into global pressure point? For ordinary Iranians, the currency crash is not just number flashing on a trading screen. It is hitting the kitchen table, it is hitting savings, and it is hitting the cost of survival. Iran was already struggling with a double-digit inflation and negative economic growth before the latest phase of the conflict. But months of war, previous sanctions, and growing international isolation have pushed the pressure to another level. The numbers tell a brutal story. Since the war began, rice prices have reportedly risen by around 60%. Beef prices are more than 150% higher. And the International Monetary Fund is forecasting that Iran's economy could shrink by more than 5%. Imagine what means for an ordinary family. Every trip to the market costs more. Every saving loses value, and the national currency continues to slide. In Tehran, people are reportedly lining up to buy US dollars, desperately trying to protect whatever savings they have left. One 73-year-old Iranian summed up the public.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching Live and Breaking on Republic TV with me, Ishita Mitra. Now, viewers, India's freedom struggle is the most often remembered through the lens of the non-violent movement. But alongside it, a parallel campaign of armed resistance was also being waged against British rule. Author Sanjeev Sanyal, in his book Revolutionaries, The Other Story of How India Won Its Freedom, traces this movement across 5 decades. Now, Sanyal's account is being adapted for the screen as The Revolutionaries, a period drama created and directed by Nikhil Advani, starring Bhuvan Bam, Rohit Saraf and Pratibha Ranta, along with Gurfateh Pirzada. More in this report, take a look.
1857 ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी में हमारी पहली आजाद पर हुआ है अंग्रेजी हुकूमत का कब्जा 1912 4 सर फिरे खड़े हुए एक ही मकसद के साथ ब्रिटिश राज की तबाही
Sanjeev Sanyal's book, Revolutionaries, The Other Story of How India Won Its Freedom, has been adapted into a major new web series for Prime Video. Directed by Nikhil Advani, The Revolutionaries brings to the screen the stories of young men and women who chose rebellion, sacrifice and armed resilience in their fight against British rule. The series premieres on September 11th. India's freedom struggle has often been told through its most familiar names. But there was another story of young revolutionaries who believed that the British Raj could not be defeated through petitions and negotiations alone. That is the world explored in Sanjeev Sanyal's book Revolutionaries, and now brought to life as a web series. The series follows young patriots who take the path of rebellion against the British. Their journey is one of ideology, friendship, love, sacrifice, and the price of choosing revolution. The adaptation is being mounted by MA Entertainment with Monisha Advani and Madhu Bhojwani as producers. The cast includes Bhuvan Bam, Rohit Saraf, Pratibha Ranta and Gurfateh Pirzada. 4 young faces at the center of a story set against one of the most turbulent chapters of India's history. With Rohit Saraf playing revolutionary Sachindra Nath Sanyal, one of the key figures associated with India's revolutionary movement. Sanyal's book sought to revisit the revolutionary strand of India's independence movement. The series takes the historical material and turns it into a character-driven period drama. From Sachindra Nath Sanyal to the young revolutionaries who chose a dangerous path against the Raj. The Revolutionaries promises a different look on India's freedom movement.
All right, here's coming up on the other side. India steps up relief measures as flood ravages in Nepal. A 10-ton humanitarian assistance now reaches Kathmandu. We'll get you all the updates on the rescue operations are underway on war footing in the Himalayan nation. On the other side, stay tuned.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Electricity bill paid.
Really?
Your mobile recharge is done.
How?
Make all kinds of payments using the Bheem Payments app and get cashback of up to ₹300 every month. Use Bheem app to pay.
It's the Mahi way.
Our Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
ايش عملتي؟ ما عملتيش شيء يا حبيبتي.
رموا 4 صواريخ، وهذا الدمار كله بسبب الصواريخ هذولا.
ايش صار في النازحين والخيم؟
النازحين وممتلكات، هي ممتلكات وهانة ونازحين للأسف كلهم اتدمروا. للأسف الحين هم بلا مأوى، هم هالوقت بلا مكان يروحوا يقعدوا له. هم الحين بفكروا كيف يستقروا، كيف يروحوا لمكان آمن ثاني، أو كيف يستقروا في هذا المكان. بدنا نعيش بأمان، بدنا نعيش بحياتنا، بدنا نحس. هاي بيت شايفين كيف؟ هاي هذا البيت تدمر واحنا واقفين وبنتكلم بسبب القصف اللي كان قبل شويه.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching Live and Breaking on Republic TV. Now, a big crackdown underway by food regulator FSSAI has now issued notices to 2 5-star hotels in Delhi's Aero City, including including Andaz as well as JW Marriott. And this is over serious hygiene violations which were found during the interrogation. Now, during the inspection, officials found cockroaches, in fact, near freezers and expired products, including 87 kilograms of sweets, cake base and bread packets as well. At Andaz, which was in fact, it was flagged that improper segregation of a vegetarian and non-vegetarian food was found. Pest activity, poor sanitation and improper storage facilities were also among the safety violations found at the hotel. Similar such violations were also found and reported at JW Marriott, with the non-compliance of SSAI norms also been flagged. Now, samples have been collected. Further action will be taken once lab reports are in. All right, in fact, as a crackdown continues across India, we're now looking at another concerning incident coming to light. A cockroach was in fact found inside a chiller at a Big Chill Cafe in Delhi's popular Khan Market. Now, a video circulating is now raising fresh questions over hygiene norms which are followed at one of Delhi's most popular cafes. No official response has come in from the outlet yet, but this is not one of a kind incident. In fact, multiple such incidents have now been flagged at very famous outlets and food chains across Delhi, where you can see that hygiene norms are not being followed at all. All right, viewers, so with that, we're slipping into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. Coming up on the other side, India is now stepping up relief measures as flood ravages Nepal. 10-ton humanitarian assistance now reaches Kathmandu as rescue operations continue on war footing.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
AU सेविंग्स अकाउंट में मिलते हैं अमेजिंग बेनिफिट्स, पेपरलेस बैंकिंग एंड हायर इंटरेस्ट, वो भी हर महीने।
मनी 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 एवरी मंथ।
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट, ड्राई फ्रूट और दो ही बड़े, चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
AU करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री UPI QR ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम। AU
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, healthy every day.
Iran's economy is staring at a fresh shock. The Iranian rial has crashed to a new record low, hitting 2.02 million rial to $1 in market trading. And the timing is significant. Washington is preparing to unveil another round of sanctions, promising to tighten the economic screws on Tehran even further. Donald Trump has already declared on social media, Iran is completely collapsing. But here is the big question, is Iran really collapsing, or is Tehran using the Strait of Hormuz to run its economic weakness into global pressure point? For ordinary Iranians, the currency crash is not just number flashing on a trading screen. It is hitting the kitchen table, it is hitting savings, and it is hitting the cost of survival. Iran was already struggling with a double-digit inflation and negative economic growth before the latest phase of the conflict. But months of war, previous sanctions, and growing international isolation have pushed the pressure to another level. The numbers tell a brutal story. Since the war began, rice prices have reportedly risen by around 60%. Beef prices are more than 150% higher. And the International Monetary Fund is forecasting that Iran's economy could shrink by more than 5%.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Over 135 people killed, 470 people still missing after deadly floods hit Nepal. India steps up relief measures as flood ravages Nepal. 10-ton aid reaches the Himalayan nation. The US Geological Survey clarifies it was a glacier collapse caused Nepal flash floods, not an earthquake. Bihar and UP remain on high alert after deadly flash floods in Nepal. Water level swells in the Bagaha Gandak River. And viewers, the flash floods in Nepal have claimed more than 150 lives. The death toll has grown even more now. Roads and bridges swept away, villages submerged underwater, and many people left homeless. So now the death